Hey, what's up, Street Gods? The Eric Kim for Eric Kim Street Photography Talk. So, gonna give you guys some tips and strategies from my new favorite book, The Modern Photographer. So, let's see, what do I want to talk about today? So, essentially, for you guys who are new to the book, essentially there's this new book that Cindy and I published called The Modern Photographer. And the basic scheme of the thing is tips, strategies, and practical insights on how you could survive and thrive as a modern photographer. So, let's see. Okay, so the first thing is kind of asking yourself, what kind of value do you provide as a photographer? So if you want to survive and thrive as a photographer in today's day and age, you kind of have to ask about your intrinsic values versus your extrinsic values. So your intrinsic value is how do you feel about yourself, how do you feel about your own pictures, and your extrinsic values are essentially what does society see the rest of your pictures. And this doesn't really matter whether you're a full-time photographer, a part-time photographer, a hobbyist, whatever. I still think that thinking of your value is actually very important because let's say you just shoot pictures for fun and you just want to share them with other people to bring them joy. The value you bring them is you bring them joy, you bring them happiness, you give them an affirmation of life, you excite them. Honestly, most people are living these shitty, boring office jobs and they just kind of hate their lives. And if your pictures could bring people a little bit more joy and a little bit more happiness to their life, you know, your pictures are actually worth a lot. And a lot of us as photographers, we don't assert our value strong enough. So realize, first of all, you're a valuable photographer. What you do is valuable, and what you do does bring happiness and joy and optimism to other people's lives. So don't sell yourself for cheap. Realize that your labor is not free. And in terms of my personal values and my personal intrinsic values, I think that I'm a good simplifier, is that I kind of grew up, having a difficult time learning in school, sitting down, and the information out there just seemed too complicated. And so I like to take complicated or complex information, simplify it. And even as Leonardo da Vinci once said, simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. So I want to be sophisticated, but yet simple. And also this idea of cross-pollinating ideas across photography and different domains. So you gotta kind of have to ask yourself is, what are your practical intrinsic values for yourself? What about you do you value? Whether it be your skills of analytical thinking, pattern detection, whether you're good at computer science, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, whoever knows what you might be. Maybe you're really good at interacting with people. Maybe you're more of a meditator. You're able to distill ideas on your own and then share with them with people afterwards. Some of us have good on-stage personalities like myself. Some of us prefer to have smaller groups and prefer more one-on-one. So kind of write down your list of what you think your personal strengths are, your personal attributes are. Write on a piece of paper, write on your phone, your iPad, your laptop, whatever it may be. And don't be shy, don't be humble about it, because you are valuable and you are worth a lot. And kind of realize that your intrinsic values, intrinsic, so it's within you. So you could say, I'm a great analytical thinker, and then Bob might say, no, you're not. But that's the extrinsic value that he's trying to set on you. Your intrinsic value is like, what am I good at? What am I dope at? And for me, and this is coming from my sociology background, is kind of ask yourself, what kind of value do you provide society? Because I think that as humans, we're social beings, and any photographer or individual who says, I only 100% live for myself, I don't agree with that. No man is his own island, and they even said in ancient Greek times, a man who only lived totally to himself was truly an animal. Anyways, I think also in terms of building your extrinsic value, think about, what kind of value can you bring people? And unfortunately, unfortunately, there's something called social proof, which means rather than putting value in terms of people, in terms of how much money they have and the things they own, social proof is seeing, should I trust this person based on whether they have a big social following or not? So it's social currency. So for example, social media or Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever is, okay, if Eric Kim has 50,000 subscribers, what he's saying is probably not 100% bullshit, or else how does he have 50,000 people to follow him? Or Eric Kim has close to 100,000 followers on Facebook. he's probably kind of worth listening to, versus if you have Joe Schmo with 5 followers on Instagram or 5 followers on YouTube, you're probably like, I don't trust that guy as much as that Eric Kim fellow. But anyways, ways to build your extrinsic value. So this kind of depends on whether you want to monetize your photography and whether you want to work with brands, companies, blah, 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 is building your following, your popularity. So in our modern society, followers equals influence equals power. So the more followers you have, the more power you have. So let's say I want to work with a big company and I could say, oh, I have X amount of followers. Unfortunately, companies put more proof in numbers than your intrinsic value. So you got to show them the numbers. You got to show them the data. We're living in this data deification society where people put more faith in numbers and statistics than actual intrinsic values. And it sucks. It's unfair. Yes, I know, but that's modern society. Also, in order to increase your legitimacy or expertness, you got to build trust. A lot of people who come to my workshops and will drop $2,000 to come to one of my workshops is because I built some sort of trust and intimacy with them. They know that I trust Eric Kim. Eric Kim is telling me the truth. He's raw, he's ruthless, he's honest, and he's going to provide some sort of value to me, whether that's helping me overcome my fears of shooting street photography, giving me practical tips, and helping take my visual artistry to the next level. And probably the reason you're watching this video in terms of building your value is based on my experiences from 2011 to 2017, the last 6 years, and surviving and thriving as a photographer in the educational space, I could hopefully provide you guys valuable as well. And ways you could also build your extrinsic value is trying to get yourself featured on more popular platforms or sites or YouTube videos. So one person I'm actually very, very grateful to, Kai, you're awesome. He featured me on Digital Rev, and now the video has over 500,000 views. So assuming the average. So generally, one thing I learned from the internet is generally one user will have 2 page views or 2 views. So if there's about 500,000 views on the video, at least 250,000 individuals in the world have probably seen my face at least. And that's really helped build my legitimacy. It's helped build my face, my popularity. And think academia is the way Google works is you rank higher according on the legitimacy of other people linking to you. So Digital Rev, the most popular photo website, photos channel on YouTube, if they vouched for me or they linked to me or they featured me, they're saying, oh, Eric Kim is also legit. But Digital Rev, they don't have Kai anymore, so it's not Digital Rev anymore. So subscribe to Kai's channel because Kai is the shit. Anyways. So what I would recommend for you guys to do is if you want to build your following, your brand name, whatever, offer to do guest blog posts for more popular photography sites. There's lots of sites out there that are open to contributors. Petapixel is probably the best site for photography on the internet, in my opinion. Michael Zhang, the editor, is a cool dude. So offer to do free guest blog posts, and content is king. So essentially make the information really dope, or offer to do free talks, free lectures. Generally, people like free. So when you're starting off and trying to build a following, anything you offer for free is a good thing. And then once you've built enough of your extrinsic value, you have enough social followers, and you want to start charging money for photography, then charge premium books. And you also, if I don't know who, what your job is or what your life situation is, but kind of ask yourself, what do I really want out of photography, and do I want to monetize my photography? Do I really want to make it my full-time career? Is it easier for me to just kind of have my day job as a programmer where I'm earning like $80,000 to $100,000 a year, rather than trying to jump ship and trying to do photography full-time living and just struggling for the next 5 or 6 years? So essentially, it's up to you. It's your personal values, your personal life. My practical recommendation is, one thing I learned from Cindy, it's actually a Vietnamese thing. There's something called your right-handed job and your left-handed job. So I think I might get it the wrong way. Your right-handed job is essentially your day job, what pays the bills. Then your left-handed job is your passion, what you do on the side. So if you work as a programmer, and that's your full-time living, I think it's better to just bank in that $100,000 a year, do your photography on the side, rather than trying to make $100,000 a year from your photography, because that's really hard. But it's possible. But just you gotta ask yourself, how much am I willing to hustle? So realize that being a quote-unquote full-time photographer, there's not really like a joy or glory to it. It's just what is your lifestyle, and don't be like, oh I'm a full-time photographer, I make a full-time living off my photography, therefore I'm more valuable and I'm more successful, blah, blah. Just dictate these for yourself. And what I personally did when I started my YouTube channel and I started building my following, my blog, whatever, I had a day job. I had a 9 to 5 day job. I worked at a digital internet company, and I worked for the company Demand Media, and I worked for ehow.com. I worked as an online community manager. And yeah, on the side, I essentially built my blog, my side time hustle. And actually, I did find it useful to work at a big company because it taught me the principles on blogging, social media, blah, blah, which I actually cross-pollinated with my blog. And over the next year or two, I was able to build my following. Unfortunately, I got made redundant from my job, but that was actually a good thing for me to jump off the ship and then pursue photography for my full-time living. So essentially, you got to prove your wealth. Prove yourself. And ultimately, always focus first on building your intrinsic value, whether you think you're dope, whether you like your pictures. And the more you have faith in yourself, the more dopeness you make, the more the rest of the market or the rest of the world is going to be like, oh, this guy kind of knows what they're doing. So some practical tips on how to increase value as a photographer. 1, be picky about the clients you take on. Say no to offers you're not enthusiastic about. I read this on the internet once. It's what's this guy's name? Derek Sivers, yeah. He said it's either a hell yeah or a no. I prefer that it's either a fuck yeah or a no. Use your natural enthusiasm to choose on your opportunities. So obviously when you're starting off, you'll probably say yes to everybody because you're trying to build your following. But at the same time, what you decide to say no to is more important than what you decide to say yes to, because a lot of people are going to try to exploit your labor as a photographer. They're like, oh yeah, shoot our editorial something, and then we'll give you a link, or we'll give you some sort of opportunities. It's opportunities don't pay the rent. So for me, I'm more interested in money and hard cash than opportunities or legitimacy. Overpromise and overdeliver. So I got this concept from this guy I really like. His name is James Altucher, and usually saying overpromising is a bad thing because it seems sneaky. But I like this idea of overpromise and overdeliver, because by overpromising, you'll do better marketing, get more people to sign up for your workshops or purchase your products, whoever it may be. But overdeliver is that, promise them a lot and then fucking hustle your ass off to really deliver just massive value, to take that enthusiasm to the next level and to exceed your expectations. Increase your popularity, write guest blog posts on popular photography websites and blogs, offer talks at conferences, start your own YouTube channel and provide advice like I'm doing right now. Also, tip 4, dominate a small niche in photography. So if I started off, Eric Kim photography, I just tried to do everything photography, I would have obviously failed because there's too many photographers out there. But I'm going to choose my small, tiny niche, which is street photography. Really, really focus on that. And essentially, I've dedicated my life from street photography from 2011 to 2017, the last 6 years. Now I'm, starting to put my branches to, talking about photography, entrepreneurship, and other forms of photography, blah, 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 blah. But kind of think about what your real passion in photography is and whether you're willing to dedicate at least 5 years of your life to it. And the last thing is charge premium prices for your photographic services. So charge 25% for your services more than you think you're worth, because we all undersell ourselves. So for example, let's say, I want to do a photography workshop. I'm going to charge $500. Maybe think 25% more and maybe I could charge $700, $800, or schedule a workshop for $1,000. Think a little bit higher, like $1,250 or $1,500. Even if you're going to shoot a wedding, rather than saying, oh, I'm just going to shoot it for $2,000. Think I'm going to shoot it for $2,250 or $2,500. And 25% is obviously not a perfect number, but the idea is to price yourself higher than you think you're worth, because people think price denotes value, which is not always true. But once again, it's going to show that your labor is not free, your labor is not cheap, and you're valuable. And so once again, when in doubt, charge 25% more for what you think you should be worth. So this is very useful if your client is like, hey, can you do this kind of shoot for me? And they're like, oh, how much? What are your rates? And then you're thinking like, oh, what am I worth? It's like, oh. And maybe let's say your gut instinct says $300. Push it a little bit higher. Think 400, maybe even 500. It's just a little mental nudge to overvalue your worth as a photographer, because we tend to undervalue ourselves, and provide a 10x better service than any of your other competitors or other folks in the field. So to learn more about the modern photographer, go to Google Eric Kim blog, or go to hapticindustries.com and go to the store, check out Modern Photographer, and learn all these new dope access to this PDF on the go. It's also available in the Kindle store. Search Eric Kim Modern Photographer, but practical tips, strategies, and information on how you can empower yourself as a photographer. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for the love, guys. Remember, once again, it's not enough for you guys to make good pictures, but in order to succeed as a modern photographer, increase your value, your extrinsic value, and never undercharge, always overcharge what you think you're worth, 25% more. Overpromise, overdeliver, and say no to what you're not enthusiastic about. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Be strong, believe in yourselves, never doubt yourselves. Peace out.